Hi everyone, I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and this is the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast, the music podcast on where I interview singers and musicians from genres of black music, gospel, jazz, blues, old school classic soul, old school hip hop, today's hip hop and R&B, Caribbean, Latin, Afrobeat, Afro-Latina, blue-eyed soul, disco, go-go, line dances, and the Lost 45s. So come with me as I take you on to a trip to the destination genre of black music right now on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Legal Shield is a proud sponsor of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Have you been involved in any types of accidents? Have you been a victim of identity theft? Have you been a victim of a computer fraud scam? Have you been in disputes with your tenants or landlords? If your loved one dies and they didn't write up a will for you or for your family, or you and your spouse are filing for divorce, or if you need help by opening up your small business, give Legal Shield a try. Visit their website at LegalShield.com and tell them you heard it here on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Do it today. You'll be glad you did. Welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and I have a special guest on my show. And this lady right next to me, I had her back in last season of season 4, but unfortunately we had a little trouble with the Riverside.fm link, so we did it audio. So now it's my turn to return the love and come over here to Frankie and Johnnie's, and that's where we're at on West 37th Street between 5th and 6th. And as I said, this lady that I'm about to introduce lives in New York City, but she's originally from the Midwest. And she is a jazz singer who has toured and performed with so many jazz artists. And I got a chance to check out her music videos on YouTube, and I got a chance to download a couple of her songs, which is available right now on iTunes. Please help me welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jeannie Gies. Hi, Jean. How are you?
Hi. It's so good to see you again, Sam.
Oh, welcome back to my podcast. It's a pleasure to have you back, and this time on video. So it's always a pleasure to check on the guests who I have interviewed on last season. As I said, many people had a hard time getting on to the Riverside.fm link, so I said, let's try something new, and this is season number 5. So I'm doing it like those public affairs shows when I travel from here to there. So I wanted to try something new and for our audience. So by the way, how you been doing otherwise?
You know what? Life is good.
Okay, so we're going to talk about everything that you've been doing since we have met, but we didn't meet on a lineable like those network event meetings since I've been on there since the summer of last year. But I said, let's turn that around. And we've met on the lineable, but on chat. So it's been a pleasure to reach out to you. And thank you for inviting me last year. I got a chance to see all of your guests and everything. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. So let us begin, shall we? Now, as I said, when we first met on the lineable, but not on those network event meetings,
Yep.
we got a chance to hook up. It's like inbox, like LinkedIn and Facebook. So we got a chance to get in touch and connect and everything. And as I said earlier, when you had invited me to Jazz Fridays with all of the jazz artists that comes here every Friday. So what was your reaction when you met me for the very first time?
Well, first of all, I was really glad you came and kind of saw me at my favorite home base here at Frankie and Johnnie's on West 37th, because it's really like my home away from home. I have been here for many years, and I have just spectacular guys behind me. And I just want to say to your audience that we are here at Frankie and Johnny's West 37th right now in New York City. And those guys are going to be coming in behind me because we're going to start playing in about 45 minutes. So you're going to see maybe some impromptu hellos from my band tonight. But I will just say I'm so grateful. I've been in New York City now, although I am from, as he said, the Midwest. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin originally, and all my beloved family is there, and I hold a great fondness for Milwaukee in my heart. But I do live currently in New York City, have for a while, and Frankie and Johnny's West 37th has been my steady gig now for many years. I'm really grateful, and we're here every Friday, 6 to 9 p.m., and that's where we happen to be recording from right this second.
Okay. Now, as I said, when we met on the Lineable, but not in the network event meetings, in the chat room, that is, I was going into the music section, so I was trying to figure out who can I interview for my Black Soul Music Experience podcast. So when I popped into you, and you reached out to me, and you responded, and I said, let's get a chance to interview you. But at first, you wanted me to come out and see you perform, which I get a chance to get to know you and let our audience know who you are. And since you are a jazz singer, which I do have a jazz collection myself, because I once worked at Viacom, CBS, Paramount, and it was one of the first of the three major networks that had TV, radio records, and other miscellaneous stuff. Now today is streaming and TV podcasting. And yes, when CBS had records, they had all of the music set. They had pop, they had gospel, they had heavy metal, rock, soul, R&B, hip-hop, and jazz. So it was a full lineup of everything. It was so much stuff. Whatever LP had the success in their platforms, I said, I'm going to take some and take them home with me. So when we did the interview that I responded, and you had a wonderful, huge turnout. So let us talk about Frankie and Johnny's, which you said right here on West 37th Street between 5th and 6th. Not the one over on West 46 or West 47th Street between 9th and 10th, which is called Restaurant Row. What is the difference with this location and the other one on West 47th Street? Is this kind of like a different type of atmosphere?
No, it's just this particular venue. The other one is fabulous as well, by the way. I want to say that. Has the room and the heart for jazz. That's all it is. And they took a chance on me a long time ago, and here I still am.
Okay. Now, speaking of Jazz Fridays, and you do every Friday from 6 to 9 p.m.
That's right.
Now, like on every Fridays, do you have like different guests or rotating guests that you have here every Friday?
Yeah. I do feature the really legendary guitarist Joe Cohn every Friday, but the rest of the band does vary, although I pull from a very coveted pool of amazing jazz musicians. But because, of course, everybody's busy and everybody tours and it depends who's here on what week, who's available and all that kind of thing. Tonight, and you'll see them as they come in, along with Joe Cohn, I'm also going to feature Miles Sloniker on bass and also Paul Bullenbach on guitar. So tonight we have two guitars and bass.
Okay.
But it absolutely does vary. Oftentimes I'll feature Michael Rorby on trombone, Adam Asarnow on piano. Some weeks I have Mark Lewandowski on bass. I've had Sandy Dabriano on bass. I had Paul Gill on bass. But like I said, everybody's busy. But I will say this, the pool of jazz musicians that I am so blessed to have surround me here in New York City are truly exemplary. So it's a gas no matter who I get.
Okay, perfect. Now, let's talk about how is jazz here in the NYC differ from the one that you're originally from, Milwaukee, Wisconsin?
You know, here's what I truly do believe. I think there's great jazz musicians everywhere. It's just that a whole bunch of them gather in New York City because, this is kind of known as one of the hubs, so it attracts a lot of great jazz musicians. But I would venture to say everywhere in the world that you go, you find some great jazz musicians. We certainly had great jazz musicians in Wisconsin, and they still do. And I played with, that's kind of where I cut my teeth because I started singing when I was 19. And I was really with more of a, what would one say? I was playing for corporate parties and that type of thing at that point. But then as the years went on, I kind of evolved into, I got to be considered a jazz singer. And I chose to play with some really, truly great jazz musicians. There's a lot of great jazz musicians still in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, of course, as there are in any place. It's just in New York City, I think the density is a little higher.
All right. Now, growing up, who were some of your favorite jazz artists?
Well, I would say this. Jazz-wise, I got introduced in my early 20s. When I was first growing up, I lived with my grandparents for the first 7 years of my life, and luckily my grandpa had a really eclectic taste in music, so I was really exposed to all genres, right? I was exposed to jazz, but also pop, and also Broadway, and also folk, all that stuff. And he sang barbershop quartet, so that was a whole nother thing. So, and my mother sang in church. So I was exposed to a lot of different styles of music in my very young youth. And then I really thought I was going to end up being a clarinetist because I started clarinet very early in my life, and I played it for a long time, and I played in a Dixieland band since I was, when I was 15 years old. That's honestly how I got into the jazz. After the whole Dixieland experience, I sort of progressed into meeting a lot of more straight ahead, more bebop jazz artists in Wisconsin. And that's when I really started listening to the jazz greats. Of course, Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan and Billie Holiday, but then also, once you get that taste in your mouth, you just want to listen to everybody. And Peggy Lee and June Christie, and it just goes on. I mean, I listen to everybody, and I feel that I'm called a jazz singer not because I just sing jazz standards, because I don't. I sing a lot of stuff. I sing jazz standards, but I sing almost every genre, and I also write original music. I'm considered a jazz singer not because I just sing jazz standards, but because of the way that I sing, meaning I try to take every song and do it different every single time and make it my own.
Now, who were your influences? You mentioned Ella, you mentioned so many artists, but who were your main influences that had inspired you to sing?
I would say this. I would say it's impossible to say one particular person. I wouldn't say that. I would say that I listen to, just everybody. I mean, like Joni Mitchell and Pete Seeger and Joan Baez and Billy Joel and Elton John and Suzanne Vega and Bonnie Raitt and all these great, Frank Sinatra. What did my grandpa really like? He liked, who sang, Bing Crosby. Mel Torme. I would honestly tell you that for me, it's not one person. It's just, I just plain love music. And I fell into jazz because to me it's the most creative form of expression, meaning that, we don't have set arrangements. I don't think I've rehearsed in 20 years. You just pull together this amazing group of jazz musicians who are all into creativity, which is what I like. So you never know how you're going to start and how you're going to end, but somehow, or even what happens in the middle, but somehow when you pull together these certain creative minds, which I truly find in the jazz community, it just all falls together and it's always exciting, and you never do the same thing twice.
Well, as for me, I listen to all types of music. As we always say, music is the healing force of the world. It brings people together, it unites us, it uplifts us, and it inspires us. So, me growing up, when I was dropped off at every babysitter, that includes my late maternal grandparents and my aunts, and mostly my late mom's friends. So, I can tell you by example, I've been dropped off by my late maternal aunt's apartment in the Boogie Down Bronx, in the South Bronx, on East 141st Street near Lincoln Avenue, the old Lincoln Hospital, where it used to be on Bruckner and Southern Boulevards in the Bronx, just a block away from St. Mary's Park. My late aunt would sing and play gospel music all day. Everybody from James Cleveland and Shirley Caesar and all the gospel choirs and quartets. When I was dropped off at my late maternal grandparents' house, also in the Bronx, but they lived on East 168th Street between Fulton and 3rd Avenue, where the 3rd Avenue L rolls by. My late maternal grandfather would play some Motown. He would play some Atlantic records, and then he would start playing some Stax records, which had Johnnie Taylor and Sam and Dave. But when he pulled out that Isaac Hayes LP, and I saw the album cover for the first time, and the name of the album was called the Isaac Hayes Movement. Now, Isaac Hayes is known for redoing songs. He would take a 3-minute song and stripped it and stretched it as far as wide as the eye can see. He would turn it from a 3-minute to a 12-minute or 13-minute. Now, he's best known for his egoistic raps or talking. So I said to myself, enough with the talking, get with the singing. And it was called the Isaac Hayes Movement. And I looked at the album cover and I said to myself, is Isaac Hayes swirling in a bowl of cream of wheat? Or I looked at the album cover and I said, is he cross-eyed or blind and he had on those stripped black and white suit? And I was like, whoa. And then when I opened up the album cover, that was his trademark, Shades and Chains. That was his trademark. He did some remakes of Jerry Butler's I Stand Accused, took it into 11 minutes. He did the remake of Beatles' Something. So once you hear that, turn that around, he had the orchestra back them up. And same thing with his other LP, Hot Buttered Soul, that was introduced to us. He did the remake of Dionne Warwick's Walk On By, took it to 12 minutes. And Glenn Campbell's By the Time I Get to Phoenix, he took that to 18 minutes. It's almost one track on that LP. And later, he's best remembered for Shaft, original motion picture soundtrack that won him an Oscar and a Grammy. And he did the theme from the ABC TV series The Men. And he did some other performing and also South Park, and he once was a radio DJ at that time. So, and I was dropped off at my mom's friend's house. They were listening to some Philadelphia International, where they had the OJs, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes with Teddy Pendergrass and the 3 Degrees, and their own house band MFSB. Now, they're known for the theme from Soul Train, TSOP. So then, and then during the later 70s, when I was moved to the Bronx, we moved to Harlem for a while, stayed for a while, then we moved back to the Bronx. We had some Jewish family that lived upstairs, and then by the spring of 1973, there was a new family that moved in, but they were not from America. They were from Jamaica, West Indies. So I was introduced to some Caribbean music that had Bob Marley, Byron Lee, and Gregory Isaacs, and the Mighty Sparrow, and Lord Kitchener, just to name a few. And yes, my late mom had a couple of jazz albums. So she had Dave Brubeck, Herbie Mann, and Stanley Turrentine, and Grant Green. So, for example, I saw that album cover of Grant Green from the LP called Visions, and I see his shades as like clouds. But when I looked at the back of the album cover, I was like, he scared the living daylights out of me. It was like up close and personal, so I had to put that album back. And then when disco came on the scene, she had Donna Summer, her first LP, Love to Love You Baby. First time when I heard the first track, almost like the whole album, side one, 19 minutes, like remixes in between. So when the late Frankie Crocker played that song on WBLS, he played the whole song. First track, 19 minutes. So it was kind of like everything. So I was exposed to all types of music, just like you said. And let's not leave out folk music, because you had Bob Dylan and Peter Paul and Mary and Joan Baez. And yes, Curtis Mayfield, who was the lead singer of the Impressions. They were all part of the folk music genre, and that paved the way for some other singers, including Tracy Chapman, picking up where they left off at. So, and hip hop. So I was intrigued by all types of music, and Blue Eyed Soul, because I was listening to some Carole King and Carly Simon, James Taylor, and just to name a few. It's kind of like everything. So I'd be listening to the other music growing up. So it was like everything. So just like you said, you listen to all genres of music. It's something that it feels within your soul.
I'm really glad to hear you say that, because as you're talking, I thought about all the zillions of people I didn't mention. But that's the whole thing. Again, I was really lucky because my grandpa listened to everything. He had Miles Davis, and then he also had the Kingston Trio. He had everything. And I think, for me anyway, that was really a gift, because I just love music.
Mm-hmm.
What I love, like I said, about the jazz players is their creativity and their ability to be spontaneous and their ability to invent in the moment, because I like that. But I mean, I think everybody who plays music, there's something you take away when it's done well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And everything that I just said, every music that we touch is turned to gold. Now, I got a chance to check out your music videos on YouTube. The ones that I checked out last year, you had some jazz duets. And then earlier during the summer, I got a chance to check out some of the other ones, including like the 10-minute version that you performed in concert. And that includes this Manhattan Club. So I don't know if it's still around or went out of business.
I don't know myself, but I will say this. Samuel, YouTube is one of the things that I have unfortunately not... well, let me put it to you this way. It's a goal. All of my recent recordings and everything I've done is on Spotify, and it's on iTunes. It is not on YouTube. Most of the stuff on YouTube I didn't put up myself because it's something that I have sort of neglected. But here's the good news. Would you like to know the good news?
Yes, please.
Okay. I have many new recordings all bubbling in the pot right now, including, by the way, a recording with some of the guys that I play with at this place. And my goal I'm not even going to say New Year's goal because that's like way off, but my goal is that the next time you and I get together, let's say, give me a year. Give me 1 year.
Okay.
Samuel. We can get together before that, but you give me 1 year, and I promise I'm going to start to put things on YouTube, because it has been pointed out to be everybody and their brother, especially the Europeans, that people don't immediately go to Spotify or iTunes. Some of them go to YouTube. So, yes, things are coming on YouTube, but I will tell you that my most current things are, no doubt about it, not on YouTube. They are on iTunes and Spotify, and Apple Music, and also Amazon, and probably every other thing you can think of, but not YouTube.
Okay. Now, speaking of Apple iTunes, I got a chance to check out some of your songs last year on iTunes, including the LP Mad About the Boy. I got a chance to check out I Love Paris and Mad About the Boy. Now, tell our audience on what those two songs is all about.
Well, I'll tell you the story about how that was recorded. That's probably one of my first recordings that I did here in New York City. And I hope you guys do check it out. That was done in one day in NOLA Studios with the late, great Jimmy Zach, and then his assistant, who I love and adore and work with to this day, Bill Moss. And many greats had recorded at that studio. So that's where I recorded that album. And Gerald Cannon, the great bassist, did all the arrangements for that album pretty much while we were there in the studio. He wasn't much for planning ahead. Like I said, I love the spontaneity of jazz. So what was it you said? I Love Paris, and what was the other one?
Mad About the Boy.
Oh, I Love Paris, I just like the song. Mad About the Boy, that's a little interesting. And I don't know why I do this, but usually when I go in the studio, somehow, like, I don't know, like 2 weeks before I find some other song I'm obsessed with, and then I decide, okay, now I actually have to record that. And Mad About the Boy was one of them. When I recorded Mad About the Boy, which then became the title of the whole album, I had never sung it before, never performed it before, except for that first time in the studio.
Wow.
But I loved the song, and so I did it, and there you have it. Sometimes spontaneity is the greatest thing.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you the next question when you're going to do the next album, but you've answered it already.
Well, no, I really haven't. Let me tell you the specifics.
Okay.
Can I?
Yes.
Okay. So last year, let's go back a little before that. Before COVID, I was going to record an album with the late, great Larry Willis, the pianist Larry Willis. And I had a recording date set up with in Maryland, which is where he lived, with Blake Meister, who was his bass player at the time. And I was going to be with Michael Rohrby on trombone, Paulo Morello, great guitar player from Germany, flying over to do this record. And then also Lee Pearson, this great drummer. And literally about 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks before the recording, very sadly and very suddenly, Larry Willis passed away. So, Paulo's ticket was already booked. We already had the studio time booked. We were all reeling, really, honestly, from that loss. But we showed up at the studio and put some things together. But then it was all centered around Larry, so a lot of the stuff was just, oh my God, what should we play? Do we all know this song? Okay, let's try it. So some of the things we kept from that. And then just last year in Germany, I finished that recording with Paulo Morello, the guitar, great guitar player, incredible. Sven Fowler, amazing bassist, and Michael Rohrby, a trombone player who truly is just, he's from Stockholm, Sweden, just one of the greats. And so we finished it in Germany last year. And now it's in the process of being mixed and mastered. And so it's part of the project that we started that day in Maryland when we were all sort of grieving that loss and in a state of shock. And I don't know what was happening that day, but I think Larry was sending us some good vibes because we were kind of in pieces that day. And then we finished it last year in Germany. So that is my newest recording that's going to be coming out.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, while you're not performing, I see that you're a vocal teacher. Are you still doing teaching?
Yeah. Yeah, I do happen to be a licensed speech pathologist. And I specialize in voice, and I specialize in accent. So I teach singing, of course, but I also work with anybody who has any kind of vocal issues, like vocal nodules or anxiety issues or, things like that. And also, I work with a lot of people who English is not their first language, and they have an accent and they want to sing English jazz. I also work with a lot of public speakers and actors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, since you are a teacher, and I always ask my guests why is it so important, because I did take up music education when I was in the third grade. So I had a music teacher that looked like Lindsay Wagner, the Bionic Woman. So as I said earlier, I was listening to her music. I mentioned Carly Simon and Carole King and James Taylor and all the others. And I'm listening to some of the other stations, like on one Sunday afternoon, my late mom and I will be listening to either WABC Music Radio 77 or WNBC 66 or WOR 98.7, which later WXLO 99X, then later FM 99, then it went to KISS FM. And then Pix FM 102, it was all top 40. And then by 1978, it changed to heavy metal. And then by 1982, it changed it back to rock. Then later it became CD 101.9. So I've been listening to all types of music, as we both said earlier. So since you are a teacher and everything, I always have to ask this question on why is music education so important?
I would venture to say that any art education is the most important because it's one thing to have a lot of facts, when we all need facts, right, to function. Mm-hmm. We need that. Mm-hmm. But art addresses our spirit. And everybody has different artistic interests. Some people, it's more, painting, let's say, or writing or poetry. Music is a universal language. We all know that. And it's an art. Some people excel at it. Some people just get something from listening to it. I would venture to say almost everybody gets something from listening to it, because music from the beginning of time moves your soul. Mm-hmm. And as a musician, if I can make one person feel something at a performance, one person in the audience, then I feel like I've done my job.
Okay. As I said earlier, music education equals brain power. So it's like saying, if I can play the piano, I have to know mathematics, 4/8 of a note. And if I wanted to play the violin, it takes a lot of practice. So I wanted to play that violin so bad, it's like saying you got to know the strings and you have to know the music notes and everything. So that was something that I had to take up.
And I just want to say something from my studies. Any child who learns music early, it's proven there's the corpus callosum in your brain, and music helps integrate the right and the left brain. And everybody knows that kids who are exposed to music very early, it's a great assist in learning in general. Mm. But I also think it's a great assist in feeding the soul.
All righty. Now, here's a question that I always ask my guests. Living or dead, which artist that you wish you wanted to meet with or to perform with?
Oh, golly. Samuel, these are hard questions. For me, it's almost impossible to say just one musician, but living, well, it's kind of hard to perform with somebody who's dead. Let's stick to the living.
Okay.
Who would I really like to perform with right now? Probably would be Joni Mitchell.
Yeah, good choice, Joni Mitchell.
To me, because I write lyrics, as you know, and to me, she's one of the most musical of souls out there right now. I would love to perform with Joni Mitchell.
Yes. So, her song, Good It Got Till It's Gone, and this was later sampled by Janet Jackson featuring Q-Tip. And then one of the new fans in music, Gracie Abrams, she was influenced by Joni Mitchell. So
I
that's
don't know of any female vocalist who wasn't influenced by Joni Mitchell. Really, because she's a poet and a musician, and just like Dylan, really, poet and a
yes,
musician.
right.
Amazing. But in the jazz genre, by the way, I should have mentioned this earlier. I love Carmen McRae.
Oh, okay.
Love Carmen McRae. Also an amazing musician and writer and arranger, and everything she sang had an attitude.
Righty.
Should have said that earlier. That just came to me right.
Yes. Now, here in the Black Soul Music Experience, I always bring you the top 10 jazz artists of all time. So I know it's going to take a while for you, but I'm going to do some of my jazz favorites, the top 10. So I do it like the show, America's Top 10 with Casey Kasem. Started with the bottom 5, who was the best jazz singer but didn't get any recognition. Then I get to the top 5, and then I figure out who was the best selling artist of all time. So if their album had received gold or platinum or double platinum or triple platinum, or that artist had those top 10 hits, or that artist performed on American Bandstand or Soul Train or The Midnight Special or NBC Saturday Night Live or Solid Gold, or that artist performed on PBS, whether it's during great performances or a special airing during Pledge Month, or that they had their primetime special on CBS, NBC, ABC, or that they had that live concert special on HBO or Showtime. So I'm going to start with my favorites. So I start with number 10, Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross. When I first heard them back in the early 70s, when the late Frankie Crocker was playing it on WBLS FM in the NYC, at first I thought he said LaBelle, Hendricks, and Ross. But that's when I found out later it was Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross. John Hendricks, that's the brother man, and Paul Lambert and Annie Ross were the first two white artists. When I first heard that song, give me that wine, oh, give me that wine, give me that wine. Well, those chicks so fine, but I love my wine. So that was one of the best groups that I got a chance to tune in, but didn't get any recognition. So I put them at number 10. Number 9, I put down Mr. Stanley Turrentine. Now, he kept up with the times with jazz and soul. So he would do some of his instrumental tunes, including Pieces of Dreams, and he did some remakes, including a remake of Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, I Hope That We Can Be Together Soon, and Lou Rawls's You'll Never Find Another Love Like Mine. So he kept on performing until he passed away during either the late 90s or the early 2000s. So I put Stanley Turrentine at number 9. Number 8, I put down a tie. I put down with the Manhattan Transfer and Bobby McFerrin. The Manhattan Transfer, they came on the scene in 1975 with their Summer Variety series on CBS. And when Frankie Crocker played their song Tuxedo Junction, I was like, wow, I got a chance to tune in. Now, my late mother didn't know who was the Manhattan Transfer was, but me growing up watching all of the TV networks, now I know who the Manhattan Transfer was. But when they had their album came out, it was real jazz. And then I tied it with Bobby McFerrin. Now, he's the one who does sing, but he does instruments from here. So he had no bass, no guitar, and no piano. He did it from voice. He would imitate. So he's best known for doing the Levi Jeans commercial. He would do the imitating. And also he did the theme for The Cosby Show in season 4. And Bobby McFerrin is known for his number 1 hit, Don't Worry, Be Happy. Number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts. And I got a chance to saw the music video with cameo appearances by Bill Irwin and the late Robin Williams. So I put that a tie with Bobby McFerrin and the Manhattan Transfer. And I think we're up to number 8 or number 7, if I'm not mistaken. Carmen McRae. You mentioned Carmen McRae earlier. So she's known for doing some jazz tunes, and I got a chance to listen some of her other ones, including Just a Little Bit of Lovin', Early in the Morning, Beats a Cup of Coffee. And I got a chance to play that. I got that Atlantic Jazz Tunes 40th anniversary thing. I loved it. So I got a chance to play that when I was at WBOX Radio in New Rochelle, New York. So I will put Carmen McRae at number 7. Number 6, I put a tie with Ray Charles and Linda Ronstadt. Now, both of those artists, they crossed all genres. For example, Ray Charles have done all genres. He would sing R&B, he would sing soul, he would sing jazz, and he would sing country music. So he crossed all genres. And the same thing for Linda Ronstadt. Linda Ronstadt crossed all genres too. She would sing pop, she would sing soft rock, she would sing jazz, and she would sing country, and she can even sing Latin music. Her LP called Canciones de mi Padre, Songs of My Father. That was the one that Linda Ronstadt did in honor of her grandfather, and she won a Grammy Award for Best Latin Music Recording. So both of those artists were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Ray Charles in 1986 and Linda Ronstadt for 2014. So I put Ray Charles and Linda Ronstadt at number 6. So I think we're up to number 5. Number 5, yes. Number 5, I put down another tie, and this one is, it's an artist that I love, and that is Duke Ellington and Count Basie. Duke Ellington is known for his tunes, classical tunes. He's best known for his Take the A Train, which is one of them, and also In a Sentimental Mood. That's the duet with the late John Coltrane. So that Duke Ellington had played all performances. He traveled all around the world and everything. So I put Duke Ellington at a tie with Count Basie. Now, the one that I liked was called, I think it was April in Paris. And that was a song that I know from the movie Blazing Saddles in 1974. And he appeared in that movie. So I only knew him from that Taylor Champagne commercial back then. So I put that at a tie with Duke Ellington and Count Basie at number 5. I'm
going to let you continue with this while I herd my band, because
Sure.
we're actually going to start behind you guys. You're going to
Okay.
see Paul Bullenbach on guitar, Joe Cohn on guitar, Miles Sloniker on bass. I'll be back.
Okay. Now, as I was saying, we're up to number 4, and we're putting down one of the tunes, Mr. George Benson. Now, George Benson is known for his contemporary jazz. He came on the scene in 1976. So I only knew him from 1976 when he did the LP Breezin' and the song called This Masquerade. And that was from the LP entitled Breezin'. He's known for his he's scatting and singing at the same time. So George Benson, I will put him at number 4. He is known for crossing over genres, which includes soul, R&B, adult contemporary, and jazz. So we'll put George Benson at number 4. Now, we're up to number 3. And one of the other tunes that I love is the late Billie Holiday. She is known for Lady Day. She had some tunes, which include Strange Fruit. Well, that was very controversial, but it had some of the one of these songs that appeared on Billboard's Jazz Artists. Now, even though she died young and known for everything, so we'll put Billie Holiday at number 3. Number 2, I'm putting down Herbie Hancock. He is best known for doing classical jazz, and he tuned and teamed up with Miles Davis. Later, he got into fusion jazz, and he had some other jazz during the 70s. But then by 1983, he is best known for getting into hip hop, keeping up with the times, and had the song called Rocket. Now, that was one of the jazz tunes in hip hop history. And would be at number 1. Number 1 would be Miles Davis. Miles Davis kept up with the times. He had some classical tunes, including some is bebop, some is classical, and yes, fusion jazz. And yes, he kept up with the times. And he did remakes of Michael Jackson's Human Nature and Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time. Been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So Miles Davis kept on performing until he passed away in 1991. So I put Miles Davis at number 1. So those are some of my top 10 jazz artists of all time.
I heard number 1. So before we start, can I have Miles come and say hi?
Sure.
Miles, come and say hi real quick. So this is the great bassist, Miles Sloniker, who you can see. We were just about to start, but I just want him to come and say hi.
Oh, okay.
It's always good to have a second voice.
Come on in.
Howdy.
How you doing?
I'm well. I'm Miles.
Okay.
This
Nice.
is Samuel.
Hey, Samuel.
Nice to meet you. And since your name Miles right after Miles Davis
That's right.
and everything, I see that you have the big bass.
I do.
And we was just telling our audience about everything of jazz. So it's always a pleasure to see you and some of the other guests that are performing here every Friday night. So it's a pleasure to see you and wish you the best of success.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks for
Okay.
coming.
Oh, you're welcome. I've enjoyed coming here, and this is my second time being here for Jazz Fridays.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Well, I think we're going to get started.
Okay, so we're just about wrapping things up, so I want to get Jeannie back here before we wrap up. Well, Jeannie, it's been a pleasure having you here on the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be with me as I come out here at Frankie and Johnnie's, located on West 37th Street between 6th and 5th Avenues. So it's right across the street from where my favorite place, Rock and Soul Electronics, and it's not too far away from Bryant Park and not too far away from Macy's Herald Square. So thank you so much for being here and letting me come here and interview you. And I wish you the best on your next album, hopefully, and your tour coming up. So before we go, anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to tell you something about very exciting. So jazz patrons Michelle and Van Vel of Nantucket. Last year, I was very honored to be featured with some amazing musicians for their first annual jazz salon in Nantucket. And so I want to invite all of your listeners. We are very excited to do the second annual jazz salon in Nantucket. We're doing 2 performances coming up very soon. One of them is Saturday, September 27th, and the other one is Sunday, September 28th. So if you want tickets and for the particulars on that, it's going to be so good. You can email me at my email, which is jeannegies@gmail.com. That's JEANNEGIES@gmail.com. And I also wanted to tell you, Samuel, we've already set dates for this amazing vocal workshop that I teach every year in Italy. And these are dates for May of 2026. So I'm happy to be participating for the 12th time for the 12th International Workshop for Jazz Guitar and Vocals in Bolzano, Italy. Did I mention it takes place on a vineyard? Oh, yes, it does. It's going to be marvelous. And the dates for next year are May 11th through 16th, 2026. I work with vocalists of all genres and also all levels, from beginners to very advanced. And it's just an amazing experience. It's all singers and all guitar players, and all we do is sing and play all day. And then we culminate in a concert at the end. I promise you, life changes come every single year. It never fails. And so once again, that's the 12th International Workshop for Jazz Guitar and Vocals in Bolzano, Italy. The dates for next year are May 11th through 16th, 2026. So for singers who are interested in that, please contact me again at my email, which is jeannegies@gmail.com. That's JeanneGies@gmail.com.
Okay, well, thank you for the quick plug, and download all of the artists that we have talked about on this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Visit iTunes.com, Spotify.com, or purchase a CD at Amazon.com. And make sure you check out Jeannie Gies LP called Mad About the Boy. It's available right now on iTunes. And you can check out some of the other music videos, which is available right now streaming on YouTube. And don't forget to check out the Jazz Salon in Nantucket for 2 performances, Saturday, September 27th, and Sunday, September 28th. You can get your tickets through email at jeannegies@gmail.com. And for the 12th International Workshop for the Jazz Guitar and Vocals in Bolzano, Italy. That will be May 11th through the 16th, 2026. Registration email at jeannegies.com. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to check out this interview, please subscribe by going to the link. The link is riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s. Don't forget to add the S to the end, -studio. And yes, I will be posting this episode on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And if you have a hard time getting on to riverside.fm, then please become a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Log on to the Patreon homepage, use your email and your password, and then you get to the Patreon homepage where you see all of the podcast shows done by different creators. And make sure you go to the top and type in the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Check out all of my audio, video episodes and video podcast clips that you may have missed. And if you have a hard time getting on to Patreon, then I will be posting this episode on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, go to the YouTube homepage, and make sure you type in the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. If you like this episode, if you love my podcast, please subscribe, please support, please give me a thumbs up, please leave a comment, and please pass it on. Thank you for joining me as I close out this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience. Well, that's about it for this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. I'm Sam Wilson Jr. Thank you for joining me, and please tune in next week for an all-new episode. The Black Soul Music Experience podcast is sponsored by the support of listeners and viewers like you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe by going to riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s-studio. And don't forget to check out my audio and video podcast episodes by becoming a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. And also check out my video podcast episodes by subscribing to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. And please leave your comments, feedbacks, and replies by going to my Facebook homepage. Visit facebook.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. You can also tweet me on X, aka Twitter, at Sam Wilson Jr. 66. As always, partying, remember this. Reach for the top, and your dreams will come true, and it can happen to you. From all of us, take care. God bless. Thanks for listening. Have a good week, and please be safe.